Imagine a project so massive that it stretches across continents, connects more than 150 countries, and carries a price tag of over $1 trillion. Supporters call it the greatest infrastructure plan of the 21st century, while critics believe it could reshape global power forever. The real story behind China's Belt and Road Initiative is far more complex than most people realize. The story begins in 2013 when Chinese President Xi Jinping introduced a bold vision to revive the ancient Silk Road. Instead of camel caravans crossing deserts, this new network would rely on highways, railways, ports, pipelines, and digital infrastructure. The goal was to connect Asia, Europe, Africa, and beyond through modern trade routes. Centuries ago, the original Silk Road helped merchants exchange silk, spices, gold, and ideas between East and West. China wanted to capture that same spirit using modern technology and enormous investments. This historical inspiration became the foundation of what is now known as the Belt and Road Initiative. The initiative is divided into two main parts. The Belt refers to land-based trade corridors crossing Central Asia toward Europe, while the Road is actually a network of maritime shipping routes linking major ports across the Indian Ocean and beyond. Together, they form one of the largest infrastructure programs ever attempted. China promised billions of dollars in loans and investments to countries that wanted to build roads, bridges, railways, airports, and seaports. Many developing nations saw this as an opportunity to improve their economies and attract international business. For some governments, it seemed like a once-in-a-generation chance. Construction projects soon appeared across Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America. New rail lines connected Chinese factories to European markets, while modern ports expanded global shipping capacity. The initiative quickly became one of the most ambitious international development efforts in modern history. For businesses, the benefits were easy to understand. Faster transportation meant lower shipping costs, shorter delivery times, and stronger trade relationships between participating countries. Economists believed improved infrastructure could unlock growth in regions that had long struggled with poor connectivity. But as the projects expanded, difficult questions also began to emerge. Why was China willing to spend such extraordinary amounts of money overseas? Was the initiative driven purely by economic opportunity, or were there broader strategic goals behind these investments? The debate was only beginning. Some analysts argued that stronger trade routes would naturally increase China's global influence by creating deeper economic partnerships. Others viewed the initiative as a way for China to secure reliable supply chains, protect vital shipping routes, and strengthen long-term diplomatic relationships. These different perspectives continue to shape international discussions today. By the end of the decade, the Belt and Road Initiative had become one of the world's most closely watched global projects. Supporters pointed to new infrastructure and economic opportunities, while critics raised concerns about debt, transparency, and geopolitical influence. To understand the full picture, we need to examine what happened after the construction began. As construction accelerated, billions of dollars flowed into countries that had struggled for decades to finance large infrastructure projects. Railways crossed mountains, highways cut through remote regions, and deep-water ports appeared along strategic coastlines. To many leaders, the Belt and Road Initiative seemed to be turning long-held dreams into reality. One of the most ambitious examples was the China-Europe Freight Railway Network. Trains began carrying electronics, machinery, and consumer goods across thousands of miles in far less time than sea shipping. While more expensive than ships, rail offered a faster alternative that appealed to many businesses. China also invested heavily in ports stretching from Southeast Asia to Africa and Europe. Modern terminals increased cargo capacity and improved trade efficiency for participating countries. These ports became key links in a growing network that supported global commerce. However, large infrastructure projects often came with equally large loans. Some countries welcomed the financing because few other lenders were willing to fund projects of that scale. Others later found that repaying those loans became more difficult than expected when economic growth slowed or revenues fell short. This led to one of the most debated issues surrounding the initiative. Critics argued that heavy borrowing could leave some nations with long-term financial pressure, while supporters responded that many infrastructure projects take years before they begin generating significant economic returns. Economists continue to debate where the balance lies. Another major question involved transparency. International organizations and researchers noted that some agreements were negotiated privately, making it difficult for the public to fully understand the financial terms and long-term obligations. Calls for greater openness became increasingly common as the initiative expanded. Environmental concerns also entered the conversation. Building railways, highways, dams, and industrial zones can transform local economies. But such projects may also affect forests, wildlife habitats, and surrounding communities if environmental impacts are not carefully managed. Balancing development with sustainability became an important challenge. Despite the criticism, many completed projects produced visible improvements. New transportation links reduced travel times, improved access to markets, and created jobs during construction. In several regions, businesses benefited from better logistics and stronger connections to international trade routes. As the network grew, governments around the world began paying closer attention. Some countries joined the initiative enthusiastically, believing it would boost economic development, while others remained cautious because of financial, political, or security concerns. The Belt and Road Initiative had become far more than an infrastructure program. It was now a major topic in global geopolitics. By this stage, one fact was impossible to ignore. The Belt and Road Initiative was reshaping trade routes, influencing international partnerships, and changing how many nations viewed China's role in the world. But the biggest question still remained. After investing more than $1 trillion, was China primarily pursuing economic opportunity, strategic influence, or a combination of both? That answer lies in the final chapter of the story. By the early 2020s, the Belt and Road Initiative had reached every inhabited continent through infrastructure, trade, or investment agreements. Some projects exceeded expectations, while others faced delays, rising costs, or changing political priorities. The initiative had become too large for simple conclusions. Several participating countries reported economic benefits from improved transportation and logistics. Faster movement of goods helped certain industries expand and opened new opportunities for regional trade. At the same time, the overall impact varied widely from one country to another, depending on local economic conditions and project management. Global events also tested the initiative's resilience. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted supply chains, slowed construction, and placed additional financial pressure on many governments. Despite these challenges, numerous projects continued, although some were redesigned, delayed, or renegotiated.
The Belt and Road Initiative also expanded beyond roads and railways. China increased cooperation in areas such as digital infrastructure, telecommunications, renewable energy, and technology. This broader approach demonstrated that the initiative was evolving into a much wider international development strategy.
Around the world, governments responded in different ways. Some strengthened their partnerships with China, while others sought alternative investment programs from other major economies. As a result, global competition over infrastructure investment became more visible than ever before. Experts still disagree on how history will judge the initiative. Some describe it as one of the greatest infrastructure programs ever launched, capable of transforming international trade. Others believe its long-term success will depend on financial sustainability, transparency, and whether participating countries achieve lasting economic growth. One thing, however, is difficult to dispute. The Belt and Road Initiative has already changed the conversation about global connectivity. It demonstrated that infrastructure is not only about roads and bridges. It can also influence economics, diplomacy, and international relationships for decades. The real secret behind the project may not be hidden at all. Rather than a single objective, the initiative appears to combine several goals: expanding trade, improving connectivity, supporting economic development, and increasing China's international influence. Different observers emphasize different aspects based on the available evidence. Today, the Belt and Road Initiative remains one of the most closely watched international programs in the world. New projects continue to emerge, existing ones are evaluated, and debates over their long-term impact continue among economists, policymakers, and researchers. Its full legacy is still being written. In the end, China's trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative is neither a simple success story nor a simple failure. It is a complex global project with both opportunities and challenges, praised by some and questioned by others. Whether it ultimately reshapes the world will depend on how these investments perform over the coming decades. But one thing is certain: it has already changed the map of global trade and ensured that China's role in the world's future will remain a subject of intense discussion for years to come.